When we begin to put on our outside pieces, we're going to want to trim all of this excess off. Here we have the burlap on the outside wing. You notice it's been folded and tacked. Well, first it was tacked, and then we folded this over and tacked it on the top. Not necessary on the bottom or on the back to fold and tack, because this is going to be tacked again with a couple more layers. But it is important that you pull this burlap tight. You want this to be a nice, snug, tight fit on there. Okay, when I start the welt cord, what we want to do is we want to peel this back about an inch or so and cut that cord off. Now I could have just started sewing with my inside cord about an inch back, but I wanted to be able to demonstrate why we need to do this. So we're going to cut that back, and we're going to place that so that the welt cord that has had the inner cord removed gets folded around onto the back of the crest rail. The reason for that is I'm going to put another welt cord along the outside back, and that will eliminate a big lump in this area. Then what I want to do is I want to feel for the top of my frame, and I want the top of the frame to line right up with my stitching. So that way my welt cord actually is a little proud of the frame. Now I'll get a close-up on this. Now all I'm doing is I can feel the edge of the frame, and I can feel that the cord, this rounded part that's been sewn, is just above it. And I'm going to continue following the shape of this wing, like that, all the way. Go a little at a time. Now this is a spot where if you had any cotton that came over onto your wood here, this is where it's going to be problematic for you. If you do find that you had some cotton that sneaked over the edge, you can take your regulator, slide it in there, and just push it up over. Also, if you have a few lumps that you don't like, you can use a mallet and just gently tap. If it's just a very, very slight lump, sometimes a mallet will smooth it out. Sometimes it won't. So hopefully it will for you. If not, you'll have to take this apart and you'll have to go in there and clean that up. If you remember, I mentioned when I sewed the welt cord for the inside wing that we were going to come back and we were going to snip this off. Well, this is where we're going to do it. You see, as this welt cord comes down over here, it's going to have a lump right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these staples, and I'm going to trim this back, and I'm going to pull that inside welt cord out of there, right back to the edge here. And that'll give me a smoother surface here, and I won't have too many lumps in this one area. As you can see, we have a little bit of a curve right in here. And what I want to do is I want to follow this line straight. I don't want to bend it like this or back or anything. I want this to stay nice and smooth. So I'm going to pull this down so it looks smooth to the eye. And we will tack it underneath the arm. And here again, I'm going to cut the inside of this cord back right in this area, so when I put my outside arm on, I'm not going over a big lump in this spot. And this arm is all solid wood, so I will be able to tack all along there. Now if you remember when we were stripping this chair, somebody used what I called a curve ease. Now I'm not going to use curve ease on this chair. This outside wing is going to be hand stitched using what's called a blind stitch. And to make that stitching go a little easier, and to also kind of define this welt cord and stand it up a little bit, we're going to use this cardboard tack strip. We're going to put that right here so it pushes that cord up. And I'll keep going like this. I'll obviously make some snips in a few places, and this will follow right along underneath this cording. Here you can see the tack edge has been put all along that welt cord, all the way down under the arm. So what I did was I measured the total width and length, gave myself some extra, and so that I can cover all of these curves. And I'm just going to kind of light base this here to make sure I've got this straight on there. Once you've determined the best positioning for your outside wing, you can take a piece of just a piece of white chalk, and you can trace along the top of that welt cord. We'll take our scissors and we'll cut probably just about an inch beyond that. And then I like to mark right on the corner here. So when I put this back on, I can get it positioned right where I want it. Now we can pull these tacks out. And we'll go ahead and put our cotton on there. It's not necessary to put a full sheet thickness of cotton on here. Usually what I like to do is I'll take it, I'll find the middle and just kind of layer it there and pull a layer off. And I'll put one half on the other arm and the other half on this wing. I like to tack just underneath the welt cord into the tack strip that we had there. We're going to tear this. You don't want to go around the corner of the back, just right along the edge. And then we can follow along the top of the welt cord. And we can take our piece of fabric. Now I made this little mark here on the corner, so I know right where to start. I'm going to fold that under, right along my line, and just lightly base this here. And I'm going to want to cut some relief cuts in the concave areas of our shape. Fold those under. Make sure we have all of our cotton tucked inside. Now I'll follow that all along the outside here. And I still have a wrinkle here. That's going to pull out nicely when I attach the back. So I'm not going to be concerned about that at this point. If you're doing this with stripes, you may not be able to get away with that. When you pull this, it might pull your stripes out of alignment. So it all depends on what you're using for fabric and what kind of pattern or design you have in your cloth as to how much time you have to spend at getting this just to where you want it. But it's good for us here. It's going to work with this fabric. So now I'll demonstrate how to use a blind stitch to sew this up. Okay, I'm going to start by tacking this loose end around the back. And I've tied a double knot in the end of my hand stitching thread. And we're going to tuck that in underneath the welt cord. Such. And the blind stitch, all it is you want to, well, it's important to keep your stitches square. You don't want them on an angle. If you have angled stitches, they tend to show. So you can see right where this thread comes out of the welt cord, we want to go into our fabric. We only want to take one layer of fabric. We go about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch and come through. And then we're going to hold, I like to hold this up, find out right where that is on the welt cord. Go in there. There again, about 1/4 to 3/8. Come around. Now you just keep that up. That's the same stitch pattern that we're going to use all the way to the other end. I like to go anywhere between 3 and 5 stitches and pull it tight. Also, we want to take our stitch in all the way under, right along the edge of the tack strip that we have in there. Through, and we can snug that up. And that's all there is to it. Now we'll just keep this up all the way to the other end. Once the arm has been fully stitched, you can take and pull this back tight, staple it down, I like to pull it really tight underneath the arm, kind of help give it that shape. Pull it here. Once we have that pulled tight, we can go ahead and remove our staples that we used to hold it in place while we blind stitched it. Now we can move along and do the same procedure to our outside arm.